what it is. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the October 15th, 2024 meeting of the Hatfield Select Board. I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order, and as usual, I'm going to open the meeting by reading our public participation policy. The Hatfield Select Board welcomes everyone to its meetings and all other public meetings of the town of Hatfield. All regular and special meetings of the boards and committees of the town of Hatfield shall be open to the public and shall conform to the open meeting law. Executive sessions are closed to the public and will be held only as prescribed by the statutes of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. It is important to recognize that the open meeting law affords the opportunity to listen to the proceedings, but not necessarily participate. During meetings of the Select Board, an attempt will be made to find a balance between hearing from members of the community and conducting the required business of the Hatfield Select Board. So I have a couple of announcements. First, we are very, very pleased to announce that the Select Board has hired a new town administrator. We have hired Andrew Levine. I'm not sure, some people probably watch the interviews. And he will be starting on November 12th. So there'll be about a month and a half overlap with Marlene, which will be great. You know, Andrew was among 4 finalists, as people know. We have negotiated and finalized a contract. So we're really, really happy about that. I've had the opportunity to talk to Andrew a number of times over the last couple of weeks, and really is just a great choice. Sharp guy, pleasant. It's just going to be really great. So he's currently the chief of staff to the mayor of the city of Newburyport. He has extensive experience in finance and government. His educational, qualifications were really impressive, including the Kennedy School at Harvard. So I'm very excited to welcome Andrew and his family to the area. He does have a young child, so he's very much looking forward to getting settled in Western Mass. So very happy about that, excited about that. And I just really want to thank the search committee and the other 3 finalists, because we had, really, really solid choices. So that's that. I just want to mention too, there was some coverage in the newspaper, but I thought it was worth mentioning that we did have a ceremony recognizing not quite the conclusion of the Route 5 and 10 project, but we are getting there. The end is in sight. Secretary Howe, Undersecretary Stolba, we had Senator Comerford, Representative Sabadosa. Who's the gentleman from MassWorks?
John Way.
John Way, Ann Goby, the rural director, regional rural director. We're all here, and it was a nice opportunity to talk to them about Hatfield, thank them for, of course, the sizable investment in that project, and a chance to thank the residents. And we had a lot of residents come to the ceremony, and they certainly deserved our thanks and recognition because they've been through a lot. So it was nice, and I just want to thank Marlene and Karen for the work on organizing it, because it was very well organized, set up beautifully. So thank you very much for doing that.
Welcome.
Yeah. Ed, did you have anything?
Yes, I mean, we were thankful for the $3.8 million that they provided us. So
Yeah, there's that.
it was nice to give them a big thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, for me, homecomings this weekend. All the classes at Smith Academy have floats. They'll be their little contest with their floats, and they'll have a parade around town starting around 8:30, 8:45. So hope you can make it. And then afterwards, homecoming, all the classes will be selling food and fundraising with the event. So it's always a good time to go in October. As far as October, it's smoke detector month. So check your smoke detectors, change your batteries, make sure everything's in working order. And for next month, November, will be Veterans Day ceremonies here at Town Hall, November 11th. It was called the War to End All Wars. So there'll be a ceremony at 11 o'clock. It's not a long ceremony, but it's a good ceremony. And then on November 9th, the Legion will have a dinner dance. So if you're interested, you can contact the Legion members for that. So those are my announcements.
Great announcements. I just want to add that for homecoming, they do usually have fire trucks in the parade. And sometimes, I've heard from people who wonder what's going on around town because they hear a lot of sirens. So if you hear a lot of sirens that time of morning, Saturday morning, don't panic. It's a celebration. So did you have anything?
I do not.
Okay. Okay, so we'll just go ahead and move right into the agenda. We have the consent agenda here, which is minutes of some meetings.
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda and list them all out.
I
Is
think,
that how we're supposed to do it now?
no, I think if you just say the consent agenda, right?
Because, the motion is to approve all of the meeting minutes referenced there unless you'd like to take something out of order and you
Yeah.
have questions about it.
Okay. Then. I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda for all the meeting minutes.
I just do have one question on Select Board meeting minutes, October 1st, 2024, page 2, topic 6. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines down. It's just a wordage. Instead of AIRED, it should be ERRED, I believe.
This is the October 1 meeting minutes?
Correct.
Okay, I do have them. And what
Oh, yes.
page is that?
Oh, yeah.
Page 2. Did you catch that, Karen?
I did.
Okay. It's really just a spelling correction.
Okay.
Yeah. So are you, with that change or with that correction, we can,
For that correction, I am fine.
okay, so a motion made and you seconded.
I'll second it. Yep.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Our first order of posted business will be with the Board of Assessors, so we'll have to wait for them to come in. Our second topic is with our treasurer, Tammy, who is here, so we can go ahead and take that up, Tammy.
These require the board to vote? Yes, okay.
We have all the pages. Lots of pages.
This presentation is for the bond anticipation note renewal, particularly for the wastewater treatment plant, but also includes the fire pumper mini truck and now the new money for the Main Street culvert that we have added into this ban renewal.
I'm just curious on the mini pumper, right? I thought that was under something else, but it wasn't.
It
never
was included in this ban and now they decided to leave it in this because they anticipate hopefully when this renews the next time, that rates will then drop again and then we will lock it in and probably at that time we'll probably have borrowed the rest for
The rest of the money
the
for the
wastewater treatment
wastewater.
plant at
Yeah.
that point as well.
Okay.
And we'll have to look at, increasing that.
have
And
no
just
other
for people
questions.
at home, BAN stands for Bond Anticipation Note. Right. So, okay. I have no problem with this. But I need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the bond anticipation note renewal.
I'll second.
A motion made and second. Any further discussion?
Did we
No.
get anything
All
for
those in
that?
favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Tammy.
Okay.
I just know there's like 20 signatures.
Yeah, there's
coming up,
there's-
right? Yeah.
We're going to take a minute here to do all this.
And there's
Did they get anything for that, Karen, in the packet? Oh, okay.
Clerk of the Select Board is,
That'll be Elena.
that's Elena.
Elena's gonna, yeah,
Okay.
she'll stand her.
Wait, I got to make sure I get all these here.
Oh, no, signature, I think they did it as Greg last time.
Greg, as clerk of the board?
Of the select board, because you'll need all 3 signatures, so.
I need all three. There's one here for all 3 of us, and then there's one that just says clerk of the Select Board.
That might, it doesn't say that one. Is that
It's it's the second page.
So you have the vote of the select board, that should have all of yours?
The vote of the select board would have all of ours.
Yep.
And then the next one just says clerk of the select board
That one has to be signed by her, yes.
by Elena.
Yep.
Okay,
And then there should be
okay.
4 other.
And then this one is for all of us. I just want to make sure I get them right, and then Ed and Greg will know as they go through to, when they see mine.
The IRS form will be signed by me.
Okay.
I just remember these band anticipation notes that require a lot of signatures.
They
so-
do.
And a lot of paper.
Okay, are you comfortable with us moving on to another item while we sign? Okay.
Sure.
Tammy, thank you very much. Assessors, come on up. We just skipped ahead of you a little bit. So we are joined tonight by the Board of Assessors and the clerk to the Board of Assessors for our annual tax classification hearing, which you are again recommending a tax factor of 1, which means 1 tax rate for both commercial and residential properties. So go ahead, the floor is yours.
So the assessor's recommendations are, and then you'll just take a vote on each. The first is the Board of Assessors recommends that a factor of 1 be adopted for FY '25. This will keep a single tax rate for all classes of property in Hatfield. Shift from open space to residential class, the Board of Assessors recommends that no open space discount be granted for FY '25. The Board of Assessors recommends that no residential exemption be granted for FY '25. And the Board of Assessors recommends that no small commercial exemption be granted for FY '25.
So you need separate motions and votes on all of those?
Yes.
Okay. So I will take separate motions on all of those. We have to do them each
Each
individually.
one.
Okay, I'll make, just want to read it the way it is.
I would say I make a motion that we adopt a factor of 1, right? Right. How about I'll make a motion that we adopt a factor of 1 for FY '25, keeping a single tax rate for all classes of property in Hatfield as recommended by the Board of Assessors.
Second.
A motion made in second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I recommend that we do not have an open space discount for FY '25 as recommended by the Board of Assessors.
Second.
A motion made in second. Any further discussion?
No.
I recommended that we do not have a residential exception for FY '25 as recommended by the Board of Assessors.
Second.
Motion made in second. Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And I recommend that we do not have that we adopt no small commercial exemption for FY '25 as recommended by the Board of Assessors.
Second.
Motion made in second. Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Did I forget one? No, that's for Elena.
Okay, that's.
Yep.
oh, And that's all.
That's it.
And then I'll just give you this, y'all all sign at the bottom, and then
Oh,
Karen
yeah.
will take that.
We can sign that now.
All right.
Yep.
And we're all
I attend this in another community and you wouldn't believe what it's like.
set.
Would not believe.
As a compliment.
So just where
We're
it's,
at the bottom. and
where
then
it
we
says
just upload it.
signatures?
Yeah, and then we'll upload it to Gateway.
Okay. Oh, is that the only one? It looks like you missed
I
one.
think so. We'll have to double check it again.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have to sign this too. Greg's getting backed up over here.
Want to thank the select board for taking us this early in the season. This
I
is
know,
one of
this
the
is
first
really-
times
The
we've been
earliest.
This early.
I was thinking it
Kudos
was
to
early.
Jenny for all the hard work.
I was thinking it's usually November, right?
Yes.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
That's really good. Is Tammy still here? Tammy, do you want to just run through this? It looks good, but just in case we missed anything.
And you haven't voted yet, right? You didn't vote that yet, the ban. Or
Oh,
did
I
you?
thought we voted the ban.
Oh, maybe you did. Did they? Oh, they did.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Done it so quick.
Ed,
Blew right by me.
you want to take, it's right there. Just make sure we got everything. And then Jenny, this is all set. Okay, great. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
See you next year. Okay, moving right along. Jerry is here from the Council on Aging regarding a proposed senior home modification program that could be done through community preservation.
So we have been in the process over the past year and a half, working with Becky Bosch from the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission to become age and dementia friendly. And we formed a age-friendly working group, and through that is where we also decided to work on this home modification loan program. As of July 23rd of this year, we did get certified from AARP to become for the town to be age and dementia friendly. So along with this, we worked with Becky on this home modification loan program.
Who's Becky?
Becky Bosch from the
Pioneer Valley Planning.
Oh, okay. Just for people at home, they're not going to know. Okay.
So she is the principal planner at the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission. So this home modification loan program was modeled by a program that is currently in Long Meadow. And this program is to help seniors that are 60 and over and those that are under 60 with a disability to be able to do modifications to their home, whether it be to put up a ramp, to widen doorways, adding a roof, any type of modifications that would help the seniors to be able to age in place, which is so important than having to leave to go into another facility. And with the way things are going with housing, there really isn't much out there. So it's always been our philosophy that that's the best thing for people to do, is to be able to age in place. I know a lot of people that have been doing this. I know you've been doing the same thing with your mother-in-law. And I just feel as though this is going to be a great program to help them. It would be up to $5,000 that they could apply for this grant.
So, and then, where does the funding is through our own CPA
Yes,
fund?
and
So
it
you're
was-
going to apply to
Yeah,
CPRA to have
Yep.
like a certain amount of money each year?
Yes, there'd be about $75,000 for 1 year. And then with your support, then we would send this application over to the CPA
Okay.
for approval.
And then it's a grant, not a loan, so they don't have, it doesn't have to be paid
That's
back?
correct. That's correct.
Okay. And what's the review process for selecting to
Right.
make sure that we're picking the right projects?
So if it goes through, if the CPA approves this, it would then be approved by the town meeting, by the annual town meeting. And then after that, we would publicize this in our newsletter, through Facebook, through the town website, so that people can file the application. The requirements are all listed in the application, what they have to do. The applications would then come to the senior center to me. I would review them, and then I would also be reviewing these applications with the COA board. And then once those are approved, then we would go through the process.
Of course, the funds is subject to town meeting authorization.
No, I understand about
And
that part of it. I just meant the actual grant funds. Who oversees the dispersing of those? Like what applications you pick? It's the COA.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
the COA, so we would be approving it. And then any of the money that has to go to the resident, I would be submitting a warrant to have it be paid. But it's the
Okay.
responsibility of the resident to get their quotes that they're supposed to have and to have all the work done.
Okay.
We're just going to be,
And then you
Yeah,
get some type of accounting for the
Yes.
money spent.
Yes.
Okay,
So I just want to, I'm reading there's two separate programs in here.
Mhm.
right.
One is CPA funds for the
Mhm.
$5,000.
Yeah.
So the process is the town has to approve the CPA funds.
Mhm.
And then there's a application process that you run the residents through to see if they qualify, whatever those guidelines are.
Yep.
And on the second program here, it's about a loan program for the homeowner where the money is paid back only after the property sells.
It's done.
I'm just talking this, what I received here.
Right. And
Page 1 is a CPA, and page 2 is another program by the Valley Community Development for Home Modification Loan
Oh,
Program.
so all these programs are an addition that the homeowner could get, because we're only, so if, say, the project is $20,000 or $30,000, they can apply to one of these other entities to get additional funding, but we would only be supplying them with the $5,000.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I understand the various programs that are in here. So
Mhm.
we were talking CPA for the $5,000.
Right.
If they qualify, and then in addition to that, there's other programs if they're interested
Right,
based
that they
on
can apply for
income.
that
and-
too. for
They could
additional
augment,
funds.
right? They could augment
Mhm.
the $5,000
Yes.
funding if their project was more costly than that.
And the
I'm
5,000 is
assuming most of them would be.
it's a grant, it's not payable. They don't have to pay it back.
But the loan programs would be just
Right,
on,
they have to do
on the
that.
home should it
Yeah,
transfer.
options.
Yeah.
Right,
Just that.
okay. Well, I mean, I think that's,
And if I got this right, you're looking for CPA funds of 75 grand per year to fund the program?
Well, we're looking at it for the first year to be able to
Year
do
would be
this, to see how it
75 grand.
goes, you know.
Right. The 75,000 we
Right.
discussed today would be reduced by 15,600 because initially the COA was looking at funding for staff services. And after consulting with Jerry, she doesn't feel that'll be necessary. So the
So it'd be-
$75,000.
It would be
reduced.
60,000 that we would be asking, so we get for 12 applications, you get $5,000.
and there'd be like a grant application deadline and.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not like a rolling,
No.
Yeah.
No.
And you could have something, I guess, on your website or something with
Yep.
the COA to
Yep.
to give people information.
All the information
Oh, yeah.
about it, it'll be in our website, on
Yeah.
Facebook, and in our newsletter.
This could be very beneficial to those.
Mhm.
Yeah,
folks that
so,
are
you know, we don't know how
homebound.
this is gonna go, so just looking at it for the first year, I'm hoping that we would get, 12 applications.
and would it also be based on financial need?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, it's based on HUD
Okay,
qualifications.
okay,
All the criteria has been reviewed by
okay.
It's all
several
in there.
people. And also what she's asking for is the select board to support
The
their
CPA application, yeah. That's all we're doing at this point, is just, so then it goes to CPA, that's a whole
Mhm.
different process. Okay,
It was a town meeting.
yes, yes. I think it's worth a shot. So we don't need to, do we need to vote that support?
It certainly wouldn't hurt.
Okay,
I would just, maybe a vote to submit the letter of support.
I will make a
With the
motion that we
application.
submit a letter of support for a CPA application for the Council on Aging Home Modification Program, as described by Jerry.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
It's to mute herself.
That one.
Judy, could we ask you to put your computer on mute? Okay, thank you. We just had some feedback from your microphone. Thank you. We're going to put it back on mute. Great, thank you.
Okay, motion made and seconded. So.
Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, Jerry. It's
Thank
very
you.
forward-thinking.
I also
Thank you.
wanted to just mention that on Thursday, we are doing a flu and COVID clinic downstairs. We have about 80 people that are coming.
Wow.
And also to go along with Ed, on November 7th, we're also having a veterans breakfast downstairs too. So if anybody is interested, they can just give us a call.
Very good. I mentioned before the meeting when the cameras weren't rolling, but I do want to say, well, we went to the POCA event and it was fantastic.
Thank you.
Really fun night.
Thank
So you're doing great things.
Thank you.
We appreciate you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry.
Okay, next is the Housing Authority to discuss vacancies. Did you want to come up? And we are joined online by Judy Schell, who is a member of the Housing Authority.
Excuse me. Tammy has one more form
Oh,
that needs to be
Sorry, you
signed.
can stay there. We just need to sign something. I knew we'd forget something. That's why I said, check it. There was a lot.
Christopher, for your information, so currently, as of right now, Housing Authority does not have a quorum at this meeting.
Yeah. Seems to be a trend.
Thank you, Tammy.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, Chris, go ahead.
Well, Marlene's just informed me we don't have a quorum of our board, but were we going to do an appointment?
Well, we weren't prepared to do that, and
Oh, okay.
so please, I don't need to speak out of turn, but.
Yeah,
go
no,
right ahead.
I'm not prepared to make an appointment. I would like to actually have an executive session
Okay.
in the near future about the Housing Authority and some of the behaviors that I have learned about
Okay.
on the Housing Authority that I am very troubled by.
Okay.
So I think that this board needs some work and some attention, and I am prepared to dedicate a lot of attention to it because I'm not happy with what I'm hearing.
I'm not happy.
So maybe we should set up an executive session in maybe one of our coming meetings and try to have, Judy and Alex there and we can discuss things. Judy, I'm happy to have you weigh in on this.
Yeah. Who's not present?
Alex.
I'm sorry?
Alex is not present.
Oh, okay.
So we can't take any action tonight, but I have concerns about this committee. So I think you probably heard what I said, that I think that they need to be addressed in executive session.
So what's the issue?
The issue is some behaviors that I have learned about on this committee that have created an atmosphere of bullying and toxicity. So that's
Okay.
what I would like to address. But I have to do that in executive session unless the person decides they want to do it in open session, which would be fine with me. So we will have to send out a notice about that executive session for a future meeting. When is our next meeting, Marlene? Is it November?
November 4th.
November 4th, which is a Monday night. We can't do it on a Tuesday because that is election night, November 5th. So maybe we'll send something out for November 4th.
Okay. We're I think we need to talk about the situation in terms of that it's getting a little dire.
I'm aware.
Yeah,
Yep.
we aren't posted for our regular meeting, which would have been tomorrow. Our chair is not posted. We're also coming up on our end of our 6-month trial with Northampton. If we don't renew that, they may choose not to continue with us, which puts 48 people
Yeah. So
in a problem.
the
so-
people of Capewalk are my top priority. I want to make sure that this housing authority is functioning and it's functioning in a healthy and professional manner,
Good.
which it has not been.
Okay,
And so I am happy to have this discussion.
Yeah.
But the nature of the discussion warrants an executive session.
All
So when does the agreement with Northampton expire?
I believe it's November 1st.
November 1st. So are you suggesting we do an executive session prior to that?
I think that might be good.
Okay, well, we'll have to look at some dates and see, and we'll have to coordinate with both Judy and Alex to make sure that they can be present as well, because I need everybody there for this discussion.
I
think we
thought
should.
we had agreed that we were going to continue with Northampton.
We haven't voted that, Judy.
Oh, we haven't voted on it. Okay, so
Okay.
we just need to vote on it at our next meeting.
So, I mean, the couple of options. You could schedule a meeting and vote on it ahead of time, and then we could do the executive session.
Right. I'm not the chair.
Okay.
I can't post a meeting.
Okay, well, I have had some conversations with the chair. I will reach out to the chair again and ask how he wants to, what he wants to do for timing. And then we'll see if we need to do the executive session ahead of November 1st, I'm willing to try to make that happen.
Okay.
And otherwise, you could convene a meeting, you could do the agreement. That agreement has nothing to do with what I want to talk about in this executive session.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right.
Yep.
I guess, Judy, we have to ask Kara from Northampton to get us scheduled because
Yeah.
we should have had an
Yeah,
agenda.
I mean, I don't know what happened to Alex. He does need to be reminded, and I'm sure that, I know that he was planning on attending. I'm not sure quite what happened, but
I will give Alex a call tomorrow. I'm putting it on my calendar right now.
okay. But I think it's the consensus that we had discussed that we would like to proceed with Northampton. And that is nothing to do with you, but it has to do with us.
Right, exactly. And that is just a formality to actually take the vote. So you could, in theory, put together a quick Zoom meeting and make the decision, and then we could have our executive session on November 4th. I will talk to Alex tomorrow and see what he prefers doing. And
Well, we have our regular meeting coming up, so why can't we just do it then?
Because, Judy, it's not posted. There's no agenda.
What was the date of the next meeting?
It would be tomorrow.
It would be tomorrow, and it wasn't
It's too
posted.
late.
Are you kidding me? Okay.
That's it's so frustrating here. It just, our chair
That's
does
quite
not do his
frustrating.
job.
I have talked to the chair, and I have confidence in his abilities.
Good.
So I will speak to Alex about getting a meeting, what he wants to do. If he wants to try to do the executive session first, or just do a quick meeting for you to take up the housing authority contract.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
And then we'll communicate with you what our next steps are.
All right.
All set?
We are all set, Judy. Thanks for hopping on.
Bye-bye.
Okay, next, is Bob here for this discussion? Oh, see.
I thought he was. gonna be trying to
Normally, I
make
would
it.
expect he would be here.
Yeah.
Oh, so wait a minute. So Ed, you signed them. You signed those?
So
Did you know your clerk to the select board?
some boards, when they organize, they have a clerk.
Oh,
And that is not an appointment. It's not
Okay.
really an
Go.
appointment,
Yeah,
it's just when you
gotcha.
reorganize.
it's a big promotion, Ed.
Maybe you get a little more money for that.
Maybe you do get a little more money. Jeez. Maybe like 50 cents or something, yeah. All right, so I mean, should we hold off on the discussion with Bob? Bob is usually
I saw
present
him
when
this
he's on the agenda.
afternoon, and
He could have a
didn't-
call or
he-
something.
Oh, he could have. He could have.
So why don't we circle back to that? And if he doesn't come, we can take it up, but if he
Okay.
does usually try to appear for these
Yeah,
things.
that's fair. Yeah.
Okay.
Just see if there's anything from him. No, nothing from him. Okay. Okay.
She's not coming in officially to the meeting?
No, she's not.
That's a,
If it happens 2 more minutes later, then yes.
that's a bit of a disappointment. But, okay, so we're going to skip over topic 5 and you're right on time. We're ready for you. I just want to say that our next agenda item is a presentation of the draft comprehensive action plan from the Comprehensive Plan Committee. And I'm very excited about this. This is a phenomenal document. I just want to say it's a phenomenal document. It clearly represents a lot of work and time and thought. And so great job.
We should for this.
Great job.
yeah, in case anybody wants to.
I bet it was fun.
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah, we really don't, actually.
It's really,
Okay.
there's just
Yeah.
a lot of really
It
good
was
stuff in
really
here.
only for.
So
the
much good
housing
stuff.
authority.
Yeah, that was a good representation of like the community, I think, as well.
Yeah.
Older.
So are we using a projector?
Yes. we
Okay.
are.
Oh, okay. This gives me flashbacks to budget season.
Oh.
Oh.
She's so cute.
Is there a different screen? Oh, hold on 1 second.
You have to do a share or something like that.
Yeah,
Mirror.
yeah. Maybe it's, aha, there we go. So we're doing a Prezi today, which is different than a slideshow, mostly because we can share our awesome poster. That was one of the deliverables that came from the Comprehensive Plan Committee, and that we have some budget left to print and put these, hopefully one in this room and other places around town in the town hall as a visual reminder of the constant reminder Of the action. of what we hope to and plan to accomplish between now and 2040. So if you want to start.
Sure. So,
Do you want to just introduce yourself?
Yeah,
sorry.
I know
Yes.
most people know you, but
Yeah.
it might be
Yeah,
nice.
I'm Stephanie Slish. I'm chair of the planning board and also was a part of the comprehensive plan committee.
Christopher Smith, part of the comprehensive plan committee.
and Mickey Sanderson are the co-chairs of the Comprehensive Plan Committee. So it seems like this came together in a really quick amount of time, but it actually was over 2 years. We started in December of 2022, and it was a funding for the plan came through the Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Action Grant Fund, the MVP Action Grant, and focused primarily on climate resiliency. That's nothing new for the town to think about and ponder, but now we have a more concrete plan bolstered by a lot of outstanding professionals from the community as well as the Commonwealth who came and visited with us. More on that later. And this is the third plan in Hatfield's history. And hopefully this is an actionable plan for the next 20 years to take us to, 18 years maybe, 2040. Yes. I'd like to read the vision statement first instead of on the second page, if that's okay. I don't know if you have that slide ready.
No, I'm not gonna be able to get there right now, but go ahead, you can read the vision and we can
Okay.
get there.
The vision statement, very important. The many conversations among Hatfield residents involved in start to finish of this plan, and the ideas and thoughts contributed by many others along the way, have given rise to a clear vision. Articulated and approved by the members of the Hatfield 2040 Comprehensive Planning Committee, it reads as follows. Hatfield aspires to preserve its rural charm, strong community bonds, and exceptional quality of life, while embracing sustainable growth and inclusive practices to ensure a vibrant and resilient future for all. I love that paragraph. And that was really a collaborative effort. Like we took time as a committee to mush and mash everybody's thoughts and ideas, and great adjectives in that paragraph too. This vision is grounded in holding close all that residents treasure most about place and community, while also tending to the key elements that will reduce vulnerability and increase strength for all who call this place along the Connecticut River home. Achieving this vision is guided by the 33 goals within this plan. So,
Talk about it. Yeah, so the objectives, there are 7 objectives in this plan. So it mostly talks about around the themes of getting a better sense of how the Connecticut River flows will impact Hatfield as climate changes, to promote better understanding across Hatfield about climate change impacts, which is related to the Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Action Grant. It's really focused on climate and sustainability and resiliency. So that's why this particular comprehensive plan has those objectives. We wanted to engage with certain sectors in town, especially seniors and farmers and students, which we did a great job, I think, doing that. We wanted to create a forum for open dialogue about how to best adapt to the proposed future, using words and graphics to show major ideas and priorities, which you can see through the poster and other opportunities that we had for engagement. Advancing dialogue on how to advance adaptation and mitigation within different arenas, and then prioritize actions with estimated timelines and recommended resources so that we can immediately take next steps, which is what we'll focus on later tonight. So we targeted specifically farmers and seniors and youth. We had 2 focus groups for farmers, including one-on-one interviews with farmers in town and farm survey. For seniors, we had focus group conversations on the greatest assets and challenges, and a survey was mailed to every resident over 60. We also, for youth, we surveyed Smith Academy students and brought curriculum into the schools. And then we had as a committee, we had a virtual gathering and an in-person event at Black Birch. We had over 50 attendees at that. And then we had a townwide survey with around 200 responses. So there were many different ways for folks to get engaged and get their opinions heard. And we feel pretty confident with the results that, it takes those into account and are a good reflection of everyone of the community of Hatfield.
And the commission, the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission, actually praised the town and thought that the feedback was very, very strong.
And the engagement.
And the engagement was, even though the numbers might seem low comparatively to other communities and ours, we actually did very well.
I'm
So
curious how
kudos to
many survey responses there were.
Over with the townwide one, that was virtual. We had over 200 responses.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for the ones that were over 60, the mailing, that was pretty high too. I don't have the number on that.
Number either, but it was high. We performed well. So
That's great.
kudos to the community
That's great.
for taking that seriously.
Yeah. This is just a quick snapshot from the survey that what folks in town, what they valued most in the rankings. And then if they were in charge, the other question that I highlighted here was, if you were in charge of the town's budget, how would you rank your budget priorities? And so you can see the things that were top of mind for the survey respondents. And we have all of that as attached an appendix to the master plan if you want to dive into all of those.
Some really good visuals.
Yeah. So we mentioned a team of consultants that helped with this, and so we listed them all here. They all played a different part in supporting the plan, but really helped us get expertise where, us as community members may not have had. So around like looking at Connecticut River flows and other aspects, it was really helpful in making this as robust as plan for us. And then also, among the consultants, we also had a really stellar committee, as we mentioned. These are the listing of the members of the committee. And then we also want to have special thanks down in the corner to those who were helpful in providing content for the plan as well. We had 11 volunteers representing towns and boards, and then 3 at-large town members. And I really want to thank everyone for the time commitment and then all the ideas that they brought, because it was a lot of work over the last couple of years.
Once a month, 2 or 3 hours.
Yep. So now Mickey,
All right, now it's my turn again. All right, so.
the vision statement. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, I read the vision statement, but there's our nice paragraph. Demographics, is not going to be a surprise that the older population is growing and our under 18 population is steady and declining slightly. Also, again, I'll refer to the visuals in the plan. It's got a really nice bar graph chart in there from the last 10 years. Climate change risks. There we go. This is a nice little cross section. I'm going to jump to here. You can see just take a minute to orient yourself to that map. Town Hall is probably the best place to start. And you can see where the levee is and the Connecticut River. And the green line shows what the current and outdated FEMA maps say. And they're from the 70s, by the way, those mappings. Yeah, they keep Town Hall and the fire station out of floodwater. The updated maps with new flow rates, lined in the yellow, puts floodwaters lapping the doors of the Town Hall and the basement underwater. It puts the fire station under 2 feet of water. The red line shows what could be possible with climate change continuing at a similar rate to what a flood event could look like, which fills the basement with water and at about 4 feet of water in the fire station.
And what would be the projected, if you're projecting based on current changes?
Yeah, I think the most
What's the year?
important statistic that jumped out to us all the time and was repeated by Woodard and Carden was that what was once considered a 500-year floodplain is now essentially our 100-year floodplain. And the new FEMA maps are very much going to support that data.
Which is the yellow line in this.
Which is the yellow line.
Yeah, so I'm just curious because you mentioned that if we're sort of going at the same rate, we'd get to the red line. And do you have a projected year?
It took into account knowing that we were looking at 2040. So I think it was within those ranges.
Yeah. But that's a little over 100 years from 1936.
Yeah.
And you'd be swimming in this room in 36.
A very important part of the climate change, John Pease was representing the Ag Board, where there was a lot of work done by the Ag Committee as well, in conjunction with us in terms of and we got some great coverage in the Gazette this summer with some awful flooding events, et cetera. So it's not going to be a surprise that probably the first 5-6 meetings was about climate change. It's where we started and kind of how we ended up circling
Committee
around.
spent quite a bit of time on that.
We did,
Yeah.
justified.
Well, there were some significant events.
Yeah, it put it to the forefront. And then not to even mention what happened, down south with Helene and an area in Asheville that never, ever, ever thought that they would be inundated with the floodwaters.
So yeah, I was keeping that in the back of our minds and it was, a heavy couple of meetings thinking about how keeping this in the back of our minds when we do this plan. So being the other takeaway was that us being thoughtful about continued development and investment in the floodplain, which is really here in downtown, and thinking about that, especially as a town. And then also,
And, top of mind,
Yeah, whenever
when
spending
we
money on
talk about
buildings.
this all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
and then the other things that we learned is that the river is flowing faster than it has been, and then that the dike is not sufficient for stopping floodwaters anymore. If with this yellow line, it would be at the height of the dike or cresting coming over. So there was a conversation about what it would cost to extend that, and it's basically the cost was not going to be worth that. We should be putting the money towards flood proofing some of the existing or some of our existing infrastructure. So yeah.
A lot of this really has to do, as the consultant said, is that we're losing floodplain water from development so it's not able to spread out. So what's really happening and what we've seen in 36 and 84 was backing up, the Connecticut River backing up
Through the Mill River.
and coming in and
From the south.
cutting us off over to the sewer plant. So you're really, in this situation, and I don't mean to proceed here, but our public safety is in jeopardy, our whole operation, town hall, and so on. So, but an earlier study essentially said, and you got to move this stuff. You got to get out of here. Okay. I mean, Ed, you were on the elementary school and you thought that was going to be pretty safe when you guys thought about the height of where that would be. And if you look at these studies, because of the change, that's now going to be affected where your first floor of your elementary school is going to go under.
Am I missing the elementary school on there?
It's
Yeah,
not,
this cross-section doesn't
Okay.
use that, yeah,
Yeah.
but, so we don't
Yeah.
have that.
We have there's other ones.
Yeah, there are other cross-sections that are also in the plan that you can
In the-
see.
300-page plan, yeah.
Yep.
I mean, again, but a big part of a plan is to identify these things and then prioritizing what the action is. I'm going to probably say that another half a dozen times during this next 10 or 15 minutes, but action, all that 2 years of work doesn't mean this just gathers dust somewhere. It's really imperative that a solid committee be formed and some of these things are tackled.
Yeah, and some of these are really tough,
Yeah.
not, everyone's gonna have strong opinions on them. And so they'll be tough
Yeah.
challenges for the town to make those decisions and going forward.
I like the way it's set up with sort of it's an actual to-do list.
Mhm.
But it also says who should do it, which is, and there was select board on a lot of those lists.
Yes, there was.
And I was like, okay, that's good. We've got some work to do, but
DPW
it-
showed up a lot too.
yeah, DPW shows up a lot.
I'd like to point out too, getting back to the elementary school, we did try to move it up to the high school because of the floodplain. The town was opposed to that, so that's why
That's
it
very
was
fair.
built higher with a cup,
Right.
because the town was resistant to moving it up there. So this is the other problem that we have,
Mhm.
is convincing the town that this is going to be underwater at some
That's very
time.
true.
Because when we propose moving up higher, there's always resistance. so-
Change is hard, and so you have to make sure we bring the community along in the journey of this.
Yeah,
So
I think this is a really good foundation for just that.
Yeah, if
Because-
if we could have as many residents as possible, really take a look through this, I think it would,
I think for me, one of the things I'll just add quick was the cross-section as we were looking at different parts of the town, was that the projection of another 100-year flood or whatever was halfway up on the front door of the sewer plant. I mean, just totally under, and.
which has a whole different set of,
Right, and
Yeah.
we're putting a lot of effort into that. And so I think if I recall right, the idea was to put a big berm around that. And that
That's a
would,
potential strategy.
right.
Right.
So,
This is something that came up that wasn't quite a known until we dove into this, but we are actually the second town in the Commonwealth, second town to have a chapter dedicated to farming in the master plan. And you can see there 25% of the total land in Hatfield is currently cultivated as cropland or pasture. 35% is in the 100-year floodplain, down significantly in the last 50 years. 36 active farms under 50, and then 2 farms over 500.
And we shared this with other neighbor-like nonprofits and land trusts who are really excited about seeing a farming chapter and being something that other communities could look to going forward with their comprehensive plans. So we were excited to have that.
I'm just going to interrupt for 1 second. Bob, we skipped over your item because we figured you'd show up, so get comfy.
Key themes. Making room for the river. Definitely one of the 7 key themes. Each one of these is bulleted. I don't have to read the bullet points. You can kind of it's common sense. Common sense, reduce flood, whether they're barriers, some of those water walls that you've seen on TV the last couple of weeks in the Tampa area. Plan of resiliency, historic and cultural resources.
Yeah, and then these are just taken snapshots from the plan, but then under each of these bullets, there are potential recommended actions in there. So this is just the top level stuff.
Yeah.
And this is, it really is driven home by actually looking at the actual damage last summer from the
Yes.
floods. Because it was, if you really, I went out to see it and it was,
Yeah, we went on a tour, one of our meetings, we went on a tour around it and had the Woodard and Curran consultant there to talk to us about
it was,
it.
Next, number 2 would be the thriving local economy. We now have a sewer line, which is, what would you say, 95% there? 96%?
93.
93 and a half?
Almost there.
So that's been atop people's minds, obviously, and I think that, and we have some really, really strong commercial businesses and local people who are doing the good work on 5 and 10. Obviously, the supporting the farms. Interestingly, the town's New England characteristics, that came up a lot in the surveys. People are very proud of the way the town looks. As you're driving through, whether you're up at Brad Street or going through the fields up north. Economic vitality, transportation, we identified we're a little weak in that one. We don't have a lot of, we have a decent amount of senior citizens who probably could, although we do have the bus, the Council of Aging bus, but we should probably look into that more. And for our younger families, we have younger families who are from a lot of cities, and they come here and they don't necessarily want to back the Prius up and drive to school or drive everywhere. So potential for renewable and alternative energy production and temporary commercial issues in town center with pop-up. Oh, that's an idea. That's one of the ideas and actions. Mobile commercial offerings or pop-up stores or pop-up events. We could probably be a little more welcoming and literally send invitations out for these people to come and, during our concerts, maybe there should be three, pop-up vendors, artists, music, jewelry makers, whatever.
We just had the event at the pavilion that would
That
be
was
some,
good.
which I had to miss, which I'm sorry I had to miss it, but
Yeah, and some of the other ideas in the action plan related to some of these bullet points are like exploring promote the leasing of town-owned conservation land to small and beginning farmers.
That's a good one.
Other suggestions include like looking at a holistic diagnostic review of our zoning bylaws and our map to reduce spot zoning and in making sure that zoning meets our state laws. Look at our current industrial zoning inventory. A lot of it is in wetland area. So it can't actually ever really be developed fully. And so like we're looking at that, continuing to fund the planning board staff position and consider increased support. And looking at traffic data to assess speeds, looking at a comprehensive look at our speed limits in town, those types of things. Because some streets haven't had them looked at since the 70s. And we know that car volume is much different than the 70s.
We did, what was his name? The transportation guy. He did set up, we do have actually now in 5 locations in town, we have now real up-to-date data on not only traffic count, but cars, small trucks, box trucks, 18-wheelers.
was that a DOT function?
Yep. So we have updated numbers from that.
And that's all in an appendix in the plan as
In
well.
the appendix. What else?
Health of,
You don't, this one?
mentioned.
Yeah, we did that one. Okay, we're on to 3, health and wellness. This is kind of common sense stuff, increasing passive and active rec in Hatfield.
So like ideas for like non-motorized boats to use, like
Yeah.
Mill River was an example, expanding the sidewalks.
Yeah. The Open Space Committee, we've been involved trying to get access to the river for the town, for boat launch, kayaking, fishing. We've had a bunch of things kind of not happen in the last moment, but that's still a very active thing that the Open Space Committee is working on, and that would be great for the town. And ensure older adults in Hatfield can age in place. That's tied into a couple other different things like the ADU bylaw.
Yep, that we've had,
Yeah.
that we need now update, but, and also like looking at our zoning bylaws to allow for things for like, allowing for small congregate homes or things like that for opportunities for older folks and also folks that are just looking for more affordable options in town as well.
Which is a good segue to affordable homes in vibrant neighborhoods.
This was a big focus
Yes.
of the conversation.
Yeah. This one was probably one of the more exciting couple of meetings. This is one of our breakout groups too. It was good energy. People talking about, how to make the town even better and more walkable and more friendly and housing stock. Where could we put some things that would be appropriate? and really focus on quality of life.
Like increasing density while also protecting our natural open spaces was a big conversation and
The balance.
around a balance.
The balance. And we, don't forget, we had farmers. We had a very good representative group, smattering of the town. And it was a very good discourse. There was mutual respect, and yeah, we kind of do need more of this. And there is a way to get it done, I think.
So this is, I love this part of it. This is where we grow as a community, is by, welcoming more homes of all types.
Yeah.
And Stephanie and I have been having conversations about this for years, truthfully. And I was really happy to see the information in here about Chapter 40B.
Yeah.
Because, that's something I've been talking about, and I think people don't really believe it's true, but it is true, how vulnerable we are if we don't chart our own course.
Correct.
To having more affordable and low-income units. We are open to other people make, sort of.
Yeah, so Chapter 40B, we have 2 or 3%, between 2 and 3% public affordable housing currently, and the state requires 10%. So what that means is, to your point, is like if a developer wanted to come in and put public housing somewhere and it met our zoning bylaws, we can't say no.
Right.
And they would bypass going through the planning board and they would be able to put it up. So, we need to be more proactive, and we do.
Absolutely.
Proactive and strategic.
Yes.
Yep.
And open.
And welcoming
and
to it.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
And that was something in the committee that I think everyone was aware and knows that just the crazy cost of housing in the last 5 to 10 years is people are aware that we need more affordable housing, however that is defined, but especially how the state defines it too. So.
Right.
And just to sort of chime in on that, Sean Robertson's idea, I was on that committee and so on, or subcommittee, is a community within a community. So in other words, as we did develop affordable housing and so on, it would include both elderly and small and young families too. So it could all be, rather than be separate.
Yeah, we talked
Yeah.
about
I love that
Treehouse and
Yeah,
Beacon
Treehouse.
Communities and Treehouse, what they've done primarily in East Hampton as a fantastic model. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. We just have to find the partners to make it happen.
I've had the opportunity to travel to some different parts of the country, and you see it happening in other places where there is just sort of these neighborhoods, and there's, community buildings, and there's sidewalks, and there's playgrounds, and it would be so nice.
Yeah.
So nice.
Right. And best practice is not to just plop affordable housing in this island by itself. Best practice is to have an integrated mixed income approach, because that is best outcomes to have a diversified neighborhoods is better for everyone. So that's something that we're definitely thinking about as well.
But that goal, that 10% goal,
We need to make progress.
is a priority.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
We would agree.
And it's also difficult because it's difficult as a municipality or as a city or a community to work on this, because you need to involve private businesses, developers, a lot of the, and then you have the ones that do affordable housing, they're nonprofits, and then that affects tax, lack of tax revenue. So there's all of these things at play. It's not just let's just build affordable housing.
Yeah.
It takes a long-term
It's a
strategic
puzzle.
approach, but we need to start now in order for us to get there. Yeah. So.
Yep.
Ooh. Oh, is that the right one?
I don't know. Should be natural resources, but if not, then we'll do this one. Then we'll do that one. Okay. There are 5 components here. Promote capacity and local governance, ensuring the town's departments are appropriately staffed and equipped. An example would be town departments have the human resources necessary, whether that's staff or training or appropriate pay, et cetera, to meet the current and projected service demands of the community. Right, Bob? Number 2, manage town infrastructure efficiently. Our capital improvement activities could continue to be strengthened, local roads, bridges, water supplies, and resources. Maximize the use of the town's existing facilities to promote financial resilience. Suggestions include inventory and develop an integrated use and reuse plan for town-owned properties to promote their highest and best use, and get more residents involved in town as one way to do more with less. Number 4, explore the strategic expansion of the community's wastewater infrastructure. Support Hatfield's farmers more actively to make sure they stay and prosper. There are 3 visions here. Conserve farmland. Everybody's on board with that. Protect our drinking water supply. I think we've done a pretty decent job, but going forward, there would be, evaluate the drinking water supply vulnerabilities, especially as effects to climate change, and review provisions in the zoning bylaw on the drinking water supply protection and update where more control and guidance are needed to ensure the continued integrity of the resources. And last, support sustainable forestry practices to ensure healthy forest ecosystems and prevent erosion.
Yeah,
So on this particular one, I mean, there's been a lot of work done, investment made in protecting the drinking supply
Yes.
over the last couple of decades and even beyond that. So I feel like we've done a pretty good job with that. And then the sustainable forestry has happened in the past and is getting started again. So it's nice when you can actually see some of these that
Yeah.
were actually, this isn't news to us, and there's some work already being done.
Yeah, and the conserving farmlands piece, you didn't notice you didn't mention that. We actually haven't done a great job at conserving our farmland. And again, it's, it's privately owned. So like, how can the town help facilitate some of that? So one of the things is to develop an internal procedure for the town regarding right of first refusal for Chapter 61A. So we're like, if there's an opportunity that comes, we are ready and we have like all of our ducks in a row to approach that if that's needed.
Appraisal done quickly.
Looking
Get
at,
things
yeah, and
in the
then looking at mapping out where it would be strategic for the town to say yes to some of those parcels instead of just, having a more strategic approach as opposed to, should we do this? Should we not? Looking at a map and being like, this is going to be the priority area that we try to preserve. The state is embarking on, they're hoping to preserve 50% of the currently cultivated lands by 2050. And so if we also want to try to take that approach, that would be trying to conserve 857 acres, about 35 acres a year until 2050, if we also wanted to try and match the scope of what the state is recommending that we try to do.
Balanced with looking for the space for those
Yes.
homes,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So, and that's something else Stephanie and I have talked about, that there's so much of our really good farmland is undevelopable anyway.
Unless you bring in a bunch of fill and have a lot of money, but yes.
Well, but nobody would want to do that from a farmland perspective, or probably the cost of development perspective. But, there does have to be some balance, right?
Yeah. When we did the mapping and we had the community input, it became readily apparent that you don't want to affect like the quilt pieces, right? You don't want to affect the big swaths of contiguous
Right.
farmland.
Right.
You want to keep that intact. That's actually historically important also, because Hatfield and Hadley similarly have historic farmlands. Quite literally, they were drawn out with the passage of an oxen. And so, these strips are 350, 400 years old in their layouts. I could go down the historical path a little bit, but I won't. But we could engage probably farmers in a little bit more than we have in the past as a town. And that goes to the support aspect, but it also goes into long-term sustainability of the land. All right, together as a community. I think this is the last one. Is it, Steph?
I think so.
I think it is.
Yep.
All right. 6 items under here. Ensure that Hatfield keeps its schools, retaining full enrollment of local students and attracting new school choice students. Some suggestions include support a third-party study that provides a complete understanding of existing costs, needs of the long term, and strategies toward a more sustainable school district in Hatfield. And I believe, if I saw the Gazette article that just popped up, is that the school committee did, making changes that will help, including the 6th grade going up to Smith Academy. So action is being had, but we could do more. Celebrate local agriculture. Some suggestions include organize and or promote local educational events and workshops on topics including farm succession planning, soil health, pollinator health, regenerative farming practices, and agroforestry. Undertake a Pride in Hatfield Grown program that starts locally, perhaps drawing on the New England food vision, whereby 50% of food comes from local sources by 2060. Number 3, ensure that all public buildings, parks, and sidewalks meet American with Disabilities Act standards. Number 4, create a community-based social center and improve communications across the town. That one had a lot of positive action in our meetings as well. That got people kind of juiced up a little bit, you know. We don't have that.
Yeah, like a community center that would serve everyone.
Everybody.
Create a community hub where there's information
Right.
sharing, where folks are interacting and creating a space of community that's in connection.
Yeah,
That's really
we
wanted
did talk
across
about
town.
communication. We don't really have a clearinghouse, one calendar, that's everybody. And we talked about a town website as well.
Yeah, like the Council on Aging newsletter is great, like
Great.
example. And if there's a way you could replicate it for townwide stuff, that
Yeah.
would be, that's just an example of something.
I would love to, an informational sign too, but, there's not one location
Yeah.
that, you have to drive by to get in or out of town. There's,
Right.
we'd really have to probably have multiple, like digital signs or
Mhm.
something.
And
That might not look,
And then the last 2, improve and adapt the transportation infrastructure and services to support an aging population while also meeting the needs of diverse young demographic. Suggestion included undertake a complete streets plan to create connections for walking and biking and to win designation as a complete streets community so that Hatfield can qualify for state funds.
That's like a low hanging fruit
Yeah,
item.
exactly. There's a couple of these that, their money is there. Identifying just the criteria we would have to meet to get the funds. And it goes to the next thing I'm going to talk about, which is the Massachusetts Cultural Council. They're like this here, but we have to create a district. And we have to identify what the cultural district is. And it only had 4 components, if I believe: the library, a school, the town hall, and something else. We kind of have it, but we just have to define it a little bit more and then make a plan. And then there's a lot of money available through that resource. Explore alternatives to access the regional shared use path network, as well as feasibility of the regional bike share program. And then lastly is enhance support for Hatfield's historical and cultural assets. I mentioned the Cultural Council. And continue the support of Hatfield Celebration Committee to plan and coordinate funding and volunteers to support the development of this committee into a collaborative nonprofit to support community programming. I mean, kind of by accident, that committee was formed for the 350th, and then it got a little traction. We have to make sure that doesn't dwindle or go away. It actually should be really, really bolstered and supported. It's a really important committee in town. We done?
Yep.
All right, next steps. Well, you saw our lovely poster. We do have money left. We are going to print out a good size map poster specifically for town hall, but maybe in a couple other places, like maybe the schools. And yeah, I mentioned the plan on the shelf earlier that we can't let happen. And we recommend the select board create an action committee where we can keep this document alive with a good pulse and hold committees accountable to follow through on the vision of the plan. And the last bit is en masse. The planning board is the authority to officially adopt a new master or comprehensive plan. We are presenting this to the planning board at their next meeting in November.
that's fabulous. Can I just ask one question? Because I love, that you engaged particularly seniors and you included youth. And so, and again, this is something Stephanie and I have talked about, but, there was a statistic years ago that I'm sure probably still holds true, that people who live in Hatfield have lived here longer than any other community in the Commonwealth. So that came out of a census, I think when I was on the board the first time. And I'm not sure if we're still the longest, but we're probably in the
top 5. And I always thought that was so great. And it was a bragging point. It is, because it means there's no reason to leave here. But it also means it's hard for people to come in because no one leaves. So houses don't sell often, as Mickey well knows. So I'm curious about the discussions around, I don't think necessarily attracting young families is the issue, because I think plenty of people want to come here, but that, how do we actually make that happen? I mean, I know that's the housing piece. But again, it also gets back to the, services that young families and amenities that young families would like here. So
Exactly.
it's,
And creating, a welcoming community, sometimes
Right.
when you have that statistic of people who have been here the longest and there might be a perception that we're not as welcoming maybe to new families and communities. So I think there's a lot of these things, like I think as we check them off will help impact that. It's not just like a one thing
Right.
we do. It's a big thing.
And within these 7 kind of subgroups here, certainly identifying, and I think we've already kind of said that through the process of this last 20 minutes or so, is that to take action sooner than later on at least the affordable homes and vibrant neighborhoods component is, I think, if there's a grassroots effort that has some energy and focus, that kind of, to me, is ahead of the natural resources component. I don't know how you feel about that.
and we're not trying to, I think there's plenty of communities that would have to go through enough of an image shift to actually make young families and young people want to move here. I don't think
I think
we have that.
Yeah.
People want to come here.
They do. That was an accurate statement. In the profession that I'm in, it is a well-known fact that if Hatfield had, we say it all the time, if Hatfield had 20 houses on the market, they would all sell in 2
They would all
weeks.
sell.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think the balance is, we passed at last town meeting was the open space development bylaw, which is kind of the thing that I really hope we can help push forward and have someone utilize, is when it's the only way you're able to develop densely in Hatfield. You currently need around 1 acre and 200 feet of frontage. With open space development bylaw, you don't need that. You can have small lots really as you want, you can, in order to develop, you need to preserve 50% of the developable land, and you can build on the other 50%. And that's the only way we can currently, by our zoning bylaws, to develop densely, and smaller lots means more affordable homes. I mean, and so we're hoping that that's also, preserving natural resources and also creating smaller, more affordable homes. That will hopefully,
Like family, like ranches and capes and like family homes.
yes, like the only way was able to afford to buy in Hatfield is a house on a lot that would not be allowed to be built right now.
Yeah, and I think
Right.
that goes again.
And a modest size home, right?
Right,
It's just
exactly.
but it's perfect for your
Yeah.
family. It's a nice house.
And to your point too about people, the longevity of the community members who stay here, and giving the steps are really important. Housing steps are really important. The first house, a second house, a third house, your retirement house. They typically all have different square footages and different square feet and different amenities. We fall off drastically in some of those steps. So to create those different types of housing, it doesn't mean we are looking to just add new members to the community. It's a great mix of helping the younger families who want to stay, right? The Slish family. And then also, helping that family that wants to move to the Valley because they've heard great things about the Valley. That's a real thing. And they're coming from Tennessee because they want to live in Massachusetts, and they're looking for, strong communities who are run very well in the Black and are caring communities. And Hatfield is definitely one of them.
So we are overall had a great, I think a great experience being on this committee. It was very engaging, a lot of different perspectives, but it was also interesting that we did align on a lot of the same things, which was, I think, helpful as well in
Yes.
getting to a good, solid plan that we're excited about. So any other questions or comments?
No, I mean, there are families in town that would love to downsize, but they don't want to leave town.
Yeah.
So if there was
Exactly.
smaller housing units in town
Mhm.
that they can move to, they would
Which
love to
frees
do that.
up
Yes,
those
exactly.
family homes, right?
That's the cycle. That's
Right.
exactly right.
Mhm.
Yes.
Anything, Greg?
No, that was great. I participated in some of the events you had, and I learned a
I
lot.
couldn't go to the Black Birch one. I hated
That
to
was the
miss it.
best one.
That was a really good
I
one.
forget, I
like
think I
that.
was out of town or something,
Mhm.
but
So yeah, we need help though. We need, this is an important stage, but the next thing is more important, the action.
Yep. And so, yeah, that's something that, the thing we ask from you all is to help us with putting together an action or implementation committee to help usher through these and get the community together and those boards and committees together to prioritize within the committees what
Mhm.
they would like to move forward with. I know that conversation in the planning board, we're having some of that. Some of them are like things we could pass and work on and get done within a year. Some of them are like 3 to 5 year long projects. So,
and some were longer.
and some are, yes, a lot are longer.
I mean, Andrew Levine, who will be the new town administrator, read this cover to cover, mentioned in his, so that's nice that he's, because I think that position will be instrumental in.
And I believe he's dealt with housing grants too.
Yes.
So he
Mhm.
has
Yes.
familiar, he's familiar.
It'll be great to have his expertise from.
But as far as this action committee, did you decide, what backgrounds you'd like to bring together, or the committee members, or how
Well,
you want to develop
yeah,
it, or?
somewhat similar to the group that created the plan.
We wanted to give the option for those who are on the plan to continue on to some sort of action or implementation committee and then recruit other members. Probably similar size, which was 11 to 15 people.
Right.
So you'll come to us maybe with a proposal on the makeup of that and getting it started?
Well, yeah, if you want something formal, absolutely. But I guess what we're saying is the makeup would be the same construction of the plan, the committee that made the report. It worked very well.
Mhm.
Especially having, representation from basically the major committees and the priorities that those committees had been working on.
Mhm.
Like I mentioned, the canoe launch that the open space committee's been working on for a while.
Yeah, and like the DPW is represented on the committee. So having someone on there, I think would be important to your point. And then
Yes.
we would probably want someone from the select board at least also, which would be a little bit
Agreed.
different makeup.
Yeah. Then that goes to the communication piece. Sometimes it's easy for a town, small or big or large, to, not know what the other hand is doing. And one of the best things is that, one of the exclamations of the meetings were like, oh, wow, I didn't know you guys were working on that. Or that was, we had that kind of same thought about, some future expansion. There was a lot of symbiotic kind of coming together and then learning about the different committees. And that was really great. And this kind of action committee would also in effect be that cohesive body that would keep things tighter, communication better.
Because I know you all have like department head meetings and things, but like me on the planning board or you on open space, like none of those committees really have a formal way of connecting and talking. And so that could
There's
be
a
an
lot of
opportunity
overlap,
there.
like even like the cemetery commission and the historical commission, a lot of overlap there. And we had actually been didn't even know we were working on the same thing until we met. So that would be the
Communication.
communication. Yeah, knowing what the other committees are up to.
Great.
Thank you for all
Excellent.
your work.
Yes, thank you. It was a
That's
great,
amazing.
great
Great
presentation. Thank you for the time investment and thought investment.
Step off for 1 minute. I'll be right
Yes,
back.
of course. You want to take a break, Ed? Or are you going to just be a minute? Can you hear me? We'll take a quick break. You want to take a Okay, great. We're back. We're going to backtrack to topic 5. Chief Flaherty is here to ask us to consider the approval of a new rate of pay for full-time firefighter EMT.
Correct. So the request is going in, and I want to start by mentioning that with the increase for the hourly pay, there would be no increase to the overall budget. I'm not looking for any additional funding from the town in any way. It would be a move of money from what is currently the overnight or ambulance on-call line within the ambulance budget and moving it to the ambulance full-time line position. As you saw in my letter, there are only 2 in-town EMTs that are qualified anymore that actually live in town. And nobody else was taking the overnight on call, and due to some other issues that we've brought up in the past of medics not being able to work with firefighters and things like that, it has dwindled the ability to cover those overnights. And I don't see that changing anytime in the near future with our current staffing that we have. So with that being said, we had posted a job back in May to replace an individual who left in February. The applicant pool was about a quarter of what we had gotten in the past, or a third of what we had gotten in the past when we have advertised. And the individual declined the job essentially because of the schedule that we offer and the hourly pay. It was not worth it for that individual to make the change from their current job. I reached out to some of the other local agencies, fire departments and EMS specific agencies, and essentially we're not competitive enough to draw people in. I'll be honest, a lot of our staff, the schedule is the biggest thing that most people have asked about. I just don't have the ability to move to a 24-hour schedule, even with the current staffing. It would leave too many other openings because of move that around. What I can say is I can't guarantee, and Northampton Fire just did this, they advertised they were willing to do laterals and a lot of things, and it's just there is a shortage of EMTs and paramedics in our area. So there's just not a lot of folks.
Nationwide.
Yeah, it really is nationwide, but we are definitely feeling it in Western Mass, I feel. And so this isn't out of the norm. It's, people are trying different things to get people in. And this is just a way to do it within the budget, is to try to increase the hourly pay. The full-timers are expected to do their fire and EMS duties as well as some other administrative duties. They do data collection and things like that. Help me with some stuff with the website and Facebook and so forth. And then, the daily truck checks and things like that. So it's not just responding to calls. It's also doing some other activities. They help me do inspections, especially if we go out to a large property and things. So they're busy a fair chunk of at least the day portion of the shift for sure. So they're currently, our one full-timer is on 3/16s in a week, and that's what the other person would be on as well. And they stay pretty busy for definitely that day portion of the shift with just tasks that need to get done. So this pay rate increase that I'm requesting would just make us so we are more competitive to try to attract somebody else. We've had one of the other full-time positions vacant since February, and it's put a strain. We've had a lot of shifts that have gone unfilled just because there's nobody there. That individual would ultimately take another 3 16-hour shifts. So it would fill in a lot of our gaps that we've been having now for the last 7 months, 8 months.
So just how are we doing for calls? Like on a monthly, are we still on a increasing trajectory?
Yes. Yeah. We're, I think if I didn't run the numbers before I came here tonight, but we're still hovering right around, I think our average is still hovering at about 34 or 35 a month on the EMS side. And fire is, I think, 11 or 12 is the average.
So just averaging just over 1 call a day.
Yeah, I think in the end, when I break it down, when I've done it, and like I said, I haven't done this in a few weeks, I think total EMS was actually 1.63 was the average per day.
And do you have any idea of what we're missing at this point?
I think to date, as of this morning, think it was 119.
For
Last
the-
year, last
for
year
the
was
calendar year?
73.
For the
Yes.
calendar year?
Yes,
So last year we missed a total of 73 and this year we've already missed 119.
correct.
Okay. And then I know you said you could do it within your budget this year, but I'm assuming it would trigger a budget increase for you next year.
Nope. I don't expect the overnight on-call program to be reinstituted unless we gather a significant amount of in-town or local EMTs that will pick them up. A lot of our staff is well outside the realm to be able to pick up the overnight unless they want to stay in the station. But they're generally not inclined to pick up the shift. So most of our overnights are uncovered completely from 11P to 7A. We don't have anybody available to go. So that money would be coming from that current line. And I would leave about almost a third of it would remain there. So if somebody does want to stay, they'll still get the $2.88 an hour to be on call for that time period.
Well, I understand what's going on and I understand what you're asking. My objection to this is that we just had the 2.5 override where the voters voted against giving raises to the fire staff. So I feel that we would be going against the voters' wishes by doing this just a few months after it got voted down. I mean, I get it that, that we need to have people staffing. I really do, but that's what the voters wanted. So I'm kind of stuck in the middle on that one. I think it's like,
I think the flip side is they turned down an increase to their tax bill to give the firefighters and EMTs a pay raise, and this would not be doing that. This is currently within the budget, so it's not costing any additional funding. And if we don't get anybody, it doesn't affect anything except currently Nicole as our one full-timer. She would see an increase in her pay, but if I can't find anybody to fill the position, it
So
doesn't
right
really
now,
change.
we only have 3 full-time staff, correct?
There's only 2 of us that are full-time right now.
Okay, so,
There's 2
We're funded for
positions
4 and
unfilled.
only 2 of them are filled.
all right. But I mean, originally, we had funded for 4, right?
Correct.
And so you've been having trouble. So we've never been able to get a complete analysis of the data with 4 full-times because we haven't had 4 full-time.
Correct.
And you're saying what are the reason is because of, one reason is the money situation.
Correct.
And you're staying within your budget.
Correct.
And it's not like we haven't done this before. I did look back. I mean, I think we did this for police or.
Yeah, we've
At
had to
one
do
time.
this in other departments. We've had to do it in the DPW. So I see your point. Because this, if you're telling me that this not only wouldn't trigger a budget increase in this year, but also not next year.
No.
Then to your point, it wouldn't trigger needing more money, which is what we did ask. So townspeople approved the budget you have.
Correct.
And if you can do that within this budget, and you're giving us assurance that you're not going to say, well, because we gave this pay increase, we've got this huge increase in our request for FY26. You're right, there has been precedent set in other
And I
departments.
do understand where Greg's coming, but this isn't requesting an override for more tax money we're staying within the budget. You're staying within your realm, and we're not asking the voters for extra money like we would in an override.
And for some assurance is that even if we were to all of a sudden get a lot of people that were able to do an overnight on call schedule with the same as what we've been doing, the roughly 10,000, which will be a little bit less than that in the big picture, I still would have that ability next year. It would just go into the budget as a increase to the ambulance line, which is coming from ambulance revenue.
So
Our current ambulance budget is only sitting at about 120.
So wait, are you saying you are
124,000.
going to ask for
No, if I had to, it would change the ambulance budget, but it is still within the ambulance revenue that we currently make.
So it would cost more, but it would come out of the ambulance revenue.
Correct.
Not
So ambulance
taxation.
budget this year, I think is $124,992 or $922. Last year's revenue that ultimately covered that budget was $170,682.
So are you able to cover any of the other stuff with per diem firefighters of what was budgeted?
That's where we're still running into vacancies, the shifts are definitely available for people to take, but they're not working with those individuals, the per diems, full-time jobs when the shifts come up. So Nicole works a rotating schedule, and because almost all of our other per diem employees also work a rotating schedule in their full-time job, sometimes it works and we do fill the day shifts or we fill those other openings. But there are a lot of times that just because of where the other employees' schedules line up with her schedule, we end up with nobody working.
How often is it happening that we're ending up with nobody working?
Right now, we're going pretty consistently 3 to 4 days a week. We're having at least one position open, if not the entire shift open.
Days during the day or during the night? Or
Saturday, Sunday days, and then the eve shifts for the week. I'm here Monday through Friday unless I'm happy to be off for a day.
So what happens on those days if a call comes in? Tonight is an evening
Yep.
or Saturday or Sunday? What typically happens?
So if we're staffed with one, that one individual will go to the call. If it happens to be an EMT basic, our policy is that when we call dispatch in the morning, it's tone both fire and EMS for the medical call, because a firefighter can work with a basic, and we hope to get a firefighter, and then we just do the transport if it's necessary with our own ambulance. If we end up needing an intercept, we might have to have a paramedic get on the truck.
And how often is that working? I mean, we've missed a lot more calls already than last year.
We have missed a lot more, and some of it ends up being is that we have a paramedic on shift and there's not another EMT in town to be able to cover it. So then the medic will still go to the call, they will start patient care, but then an ambulance has to come in and provide the transport because they can't transport with a firefighter.
And a paramedic.
A paramedic can't transport with a firefighter.
But an EMT can pay.
But
That, I still will never understand that.
Is there, do you know if there's any work on that, changing that policy back to the way it was? Because, yeah.
It's definitely been brought up. I know that there are a couple of services. We actually wrote letters. Myself and the director of Lanesboro wrote letters and expressed how this affects really Western Mass.
Yeah.
Would this
Let's
be a
face it.
legislative?
Yes.
It would
Because
be
it would be a change to
legislative.
the actual CMR 170 that or our ambulance services are governed under. They would have to change it.
You know, that's a great, just thinking about, like, we had Ann Goby here at, that's something to talk to Ann Goby about. So Ann Goby is the state's rural director, I forget what her official title is. She was a senator, so she absolutely knows. She was a rep and a senator, and she was here Friday. That is something I can't imagine she hasn't heard from other communities, but something that we should be talking to her about the best way for us collectively as small departments with whoever else is affected by this to band together and try to get some legislation going to change that one piece, because that would significantly alter.
It would certainly help, without a doubt. I can't say that it's going to fix the problem 100% here because of our current makeup. So there's other changes.
It's such a
But it would
rural,
help.
it's particularly difficult for rural communities.
Right.
So,
And it's really for the paramedics, and that's the other side, is that how many small community-based, kind of like us, are paramedic level services and have paramedics working, but don't have that other half of the shift guaranteed to be filled. And that makes a little bit of a difference. I mean, I have had a couple of our paramedics, when they realize that they don't have a partner, they request to be removed from the shift because they know that they can't go and do a transport. So they just request to come off of the shift.
right.
Because they're like, if I know that if there's nobody else in town, why bother? It might as well just be mutual aid and then let them take the call because they know that they can't work.
Well, would you be willing, maybe if I asked to set up a meeting with Ann? Because I'd be willing to sit down with you and Ann to go through this with her.
Yeah.
I would love if this could go back to what we had been doing for the last couple of years.
I mean, it
because
would,
really
it's
was
a
working.
Coordinated, because she stopped in here. to
Yeah,
talk
she
to me on
did. So
Friday
if you, I
after.
don't have her contact
she
info.
gave me her
I think
card.
I have her,
She is
actually, I think I
director,
have her
looked
cell
it up,
phone.
Rural Affairs.
Director of Rural
Wasn't sure if it was
Affairs.
Rural Development or Rural Affairs. It is Rural Affairs.
I know for the last few years when we were working under the waiver because of COVID,
Right.
until this was removed, the ability to transport at all levels with a firefighter on the truck or a first responder, I shouldn't just say firefighter, but in our case, it would be our firefighter, was saving us an additional 40 to 47 mutual aid calls a year by being able to have a firefighter drive that ambulance for our paramedics.
This seems like a
So-
simple solution.
And
So
COVID
could
was a great
you-
trial,
I'd be glad to.
trying it out, and it worked, like a lot of
Yeah.
other things. Like other things is like giving EMTs, EMS
And-
people
and-
more
Skills.
judgment
Yep.
to say, no, you don't need to ride in the ambulance today. Something like that, little things.
When I've
lot of
asked
it.
folks about it, the only answer I get is they're concerned that as the lone EMS provider on the ambulance, as the paramedic, all the responsibility is on you for those high acuity calls. And my only real answer back to them is, if I'm the only paramedic on the truck, and even if I have 2 to 3 basics working with me, all the responsibility and the liability is still on me and my license because I am the highest level in the truck. So it doesn't really change the responsibility for the paramedic because they're still on the hook if something goes wrong or goes bad with
Well,
that
and
call.
isn't that a responsibility you accept when you get
Correct.
into this field? I mean, it's,
And everybody understands that. And you know that you take some of that onus when you, as the higher level you go. But that's the only real rebuttal that I can get from a lot of folks when I talk to people at OEMS and I talk to other people that are involved with why didn't they change this with the last change order within 170? And it's just, well, it's too much responsibility for one individual. It's still on me no matter what happens. Because I'm the paramedic on that ambulance, so it's still my responsibility
so
no matter what happens.
do you have Ann's contact information? Because I don't even mind reaching out to her and asking to set something up. Unless you want to do it.
I don't
But
mind doing that either, but. yeah.
I've known
I have
Ann
her
for
contact
years and,
information.
And I know our paramedics for Hatfield, none of them care. Like, they're not worried about that they would be transported a firefighter. Minimum the waiver of COVID across the entire Commonwealth of bad calls or bad outcomes because you didn't have a second EMT on the truck. I mean, it was minuscule over the three and
as
a half,
opposed to
almost
not
years.
having a response from the community.
Correct.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and again,
I
if you
mean,
need help, you call
I-
for another ambulance.
I-
and you
I
get
guess
another
my-
EMT and you.
So regarding the meeting with Ann, I'm perfectly happy to do it. But if you think that it's better for you two to meet with Ann, because you also have a lot more knowledge of all of this than I do. So I don't care who, but I think somebody needs to initiate this first conversation with Ann to see if it's on her radar screen, to explain to her what a pain point this is for a community like Hatfield. And then, maybe she'd want to come to a meeting to talk about it. Maybe there's potential legislation that's going to be filed. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But so I'm willing to do it, but obviously you
Yeah,
can
I'm
speak
willing to do it as well. I just.
to the
yeah.
issue more. We can't do it
I never-
together because
right.
it'll be a posted meeting,
Yeah.
which we could also do, but
Yeah.
so I think
We'll
that's
sit down, Greg. We'll talk to her.
Yeah,
We know.
yeah,
no
I
offense,
no,
but
I think it's
we could get that.
I think it's a really good thing to run by her. That's, I think,
Mhm.
specifically why that position was created, so that rural communities can have that one person that you can go to for some of these things that we run into that larger communities don't.
This
Okay,
would-
so
this would
that's fine.
definitely
That's
help a lot.
beside the point of this pay increase. I
Mhm.
mean, we have done this in other departments. Again, I see your point, but it doesn't go against.
If it doesn't go against that.
Do you feel it doesn't go against it if he's doing it within his budget? I mean, it's not triggering an extra budgetary expense. And if you're telling me with 100% assurance that you're not going to say, oh, well, because we did this, this is why my budget request is higher next year. Because I'm not feeling like the next year's budget is going to have much room.
No.
The only thing to make sure that we clarify, my budget request could be higher, but it would be funded from ambulance revenue, so it wouldn't be a taxation
Right, it's not taxation.
increase. Because the more calls we cover, the more revenue we make, which just means that there is money to be able to fund.
And we're not, this
These
is not an exorbitant pay
providers.
increase either. It's bringing it more in line. I do have one more question, and that is, and again, so maybe we want to make the decision about the pay increase, because my question is about, we talk about these staffing levels, and we talk about the size of our community and all of this stuff, but 1.6 calls a day is not a lot. I mean, it's a lot. We want to cover it. We want to make sure it's covered. I'm just curious, locally, can you point to another town that has, say, that same about, let's say 1.5 calls a day, or between 1 and 2 calls a day, who is staffing at this level or trying to go to 24 hours?
Not that I can think of within the area. The only other one that even comes close, but it's still not the same, would be somebody like maybe Granville. They're not 24/7. They do run their own ambulance. It is a BLS ambulance, and then Southwick or Westfield intercept them. I think, but I still don't even think their call volume is even close to where ours is.
But they're not trying to go to, that's what I'm saying. Like, I just want to make sure that we're having the coverage we should have for the volume that we have. I mean, I know that it's a crapshoot because you don't know what shift,
Sure.
where the calls are going to come in, but.
One thing I could say is, I mean, the volume's not going to go down. I mean, we are still projecting to be between 50 and 55 EMS calls ahead of last year. And we're still projecting to be 25 fire calls ahead of last year. We're very likely going to hit 500 EMS calls this year. So the numbers are going to continue to go up.
Yes, of course, Marlene.
Bob, to your comment about if there were to be an increase in your budget, it would come from ambulance revenues.
Correct.
But, obviously the revenues have to be there. And I'm just thinking about how you're saying the calls are down. So when Hatfield does not respond to a call, we're not collecting anything, right?
No.
Right.
Okay, just wanted
Correct.
to make sure of that. So
As far as
Yeah.
fire calls, what could you explain to me? I'm trying to get an understanding of what type of calls you respond to. And I think the town likes to know what calls besides an actual fire that the fire department does have to respond to.
Sure. So smoke alarm activations, carbon monoxide alarm activations, motor vehicle accidents, power lines down, fuel spills, so hazmat type of incidents, severe weather, power, trees, limbs down, things like that, blocking roads. Usually we're the ones that get called because people are unsure if, wires are directly involved, but we always still get the call. We go out and determine, what is the hazard, and then whether or not we have to stay there and we're waiting. Gas leaks, natural gas leaks on Route 5.
Well, thankfully, those don't happen very often. So
Elevator
how
type
many
emergencies. I mean,
How many structure fires have we had this year?
this year, active fires, none. What we call a box alarm, so report a smoke in a building, I think is 4.
That you
top
could
of
have
my
got there and it was not something
Or
serious, like
malfunctioning or something along those
appliance
lines. Light
malfunction, something.
fixture that, the ballast smokes, so it puts smoke in the building.
Right. So, okay.
And some of these calls are like the 11 fire calls a month roughly are also happening at the same time, or they are the same incident as an ambulance call.
No, those would be totally separate. We don't count if well, yes, motor vehicle accident.
Yeah, I was going
would
to
be.
say, wouldn't an
Yeah,
accident?
so about,
And the truck
probably
goes-
about 12.
So So that's that would be 2 incidences.
One for each side, yes, because they both got toned.
And even like a box alarm, the ambulance would go to a box alarm.
Correct.
That would be 2 incidences also? That would be
Yep,
an
one for
EMS
each.
and,
Yeah, I would say that for the
To
year,
the bottom of that, like,
but you're still required to go. I mean, you
Right.
have to send them one way or another. So
Right.
that there still has to be people to
right, so
respond.
they're still being counted as separate departments, even though they're not.
Correct.
For-
Sep-
separate calls
For
Separate
incident
calls,
numbers,
right.
yeah.
for incident numbers.
Yeah. There's still the fire department going, but if they're taking the ambulance, it's an ambulance incident, not a fire incident.
But a fire truck would go too.
So fire trucks don't go to medical calls unless it's a
Right.
motor vehicle accident.
But ambulance goes to fire calls.
If it's a box alarm, it would, yes.
So it's-
Structure,
it's-
fire, box
yeah.
alarm, motor vehicle accident.
So it's still track, fire call, ambulance call.
Correct, because
Separate, yeah.
both agencies, because I guess I look at it as still 2 separate, because we have people that are not EMS that just respond on the fire side. So ultimately, there was a request for a fire truck, and there was a request for an ambulance. And every time we get toned for that, that's how I calculate them, is that because we have to send crews to those calls. So I have to put 2 people on that truck and should have 3 people on the fire truck.
So when
when
you
it goes
say
on.
you're, how many calls ahead of last year?
50, at the end of October, we were 50 ahead on EMS and 25 ahead of last year's on the fire side.
So, but some of those could have been,
But that would have been the same as every year. There's always going to be
There's always-
carryover one way or
okay.
another.
That's how it's been counted all the years, yeah.
okay.
I don't, when the fire department is toned to help cross-staff the ambulance, when there's a basic working, I don't count that as a fire response, because they are really just going to assist the ambulance to try to get them so
Okay,
we can provide that transport.
Right.
So we're
Okay.
generally not counting that unless it's a cardiac arrest, because that absolutely needs more people. That's not just to staff the ambulance. We need people to move that patient,
okay,
and you need extra hands. So that would count as a fire call and a medical call at that same time.
okay. Oh, I never thought about that before.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, I don't know, we have to take a vote on his request.
This is just for the basic position, as I see?
Yes, full-time firefighter basic.
I will make a motion that we increase the hourly rate as Bob requested in an effort to attract and retain to the shifts that already exist,
Since you're staying.
as long
within-
as it's within the budget.
Yes, as long as you're staying within the budget. And I think we got to be competitive. We're still short 2 full-times. So,
And I want to be clear that it will not trigger an increase in your budget request next year. I mean, from taxation.
Okay,
okay, then I'll second
that it won't do. I can't guarantee that I won't need additional funding in the ambulance because things go up, service contracts, things like that. But they are funded from ambulance revenue and not from taxation.
I seconded
I'm
it.
sorry, I didn't hear that.
I did, okay,
A motion made and second. Any further discussion?
no.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Keep trying.
There you go.
Keep trying. Let me know. We'll have that meeting.
Yeah, I would
Talk
like to
with
do that.
Dr.
I really
Yeah,
would.
I-
The more I think
and-
about it, the more I think I'd like to be involved in that.
Yeah, I think you should be the one involved in that. I mean, like I say, I'm happy to do it, just because I don't mind doing that stuff, but,
Yeah.
and
Part
you,
of the
Anne
regulation
is,
changed, too.
Anne is terrific.
There's a bunch of
Um,
regulations I'd like to see.
She really is terrific, and I wish I could be there. I guess we could have it as a posted select board meeting to meet with her,
Mhm.
but do it without me.
But
You
for
can do it without me.
starters, yeah,
We'll start
Yeah.
off and
okay.
Yeah, she might even be willing to like come to a meeting at some point or whatever. And it might just be a matter of getting, I just can't believe that like the Mass Chiefs aren't doing something.
Mm.
Like, why not?
So being honest, when you look across the state, the amount of people that that part of the regulation affects of not being able to have a paramedic and a firefighter with no EMT status on that truck is pretty minimal across the Commonwealth.
So it's
There's very few, if you were to look at the 351 communities in Massachusetts, I would venture to say, and I don't have this perfect, I'd venture to say that you're probably talking maybe 4 to 6 that this actually affects. Because either the service is a full BLS service, so they don't have paramedics and they're always getting an intercept from an outside agency, or they are a full paramedic service with 2 people on every single shift, specifically staffing that ambulance.
Yeah.
So it is very, very few across the Commonwealth.
And they're the ones
affects.
that have the majority of the vote and the rulings on what we do out here.
Correct.
Yeah.
There's probably a few on the Cape, and then the rest are out here.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
affects.
well, let's give it a shot.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks. Okay, appointments and resignations. We have Lucas Punska to appoint as an election worker.
Make a motion to appoint Lucas Ponska as a election worker.
He's a student election worker?
Student
Yeah,
election worker.
I was going
should
to say, this is a,
Not sure what that
I
means.
thought Lucas was a student. I was like, isn't he very young?
So is that something we
What
do?
does that, I don't remember ever in my tenure having a student election worker.
I believe this is something new.
I mean, it's a official application,
Yes, it is.
working as a checker, evening, I mean, I love it. I think it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay, sorry, was there a motion?
I made a motion.
Did you make a second?
I'll second it now. Yeah.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I think,
And when I say new, that this is something new that is being promoted, by the state.
the
to
Secretary of
accept-
State.
Mhm.
I love it. I think it's great. Okay, and then we have the appointment of Michael Bartlett to the Zoning Board of Appeals. I think would be great. Ed,
I'll make a motion to appoint Michael Bartlett to the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Second.
motion made and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. That one is just for my signature. Okay. The appointment of Michael Cahill to the Capital Improvement Planning Committee.
I'll make a motion to appoint Mike Cahill to the Capital Improvement Planning Committee.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's great because we operated with missing one last year.
Mm.
And then we have a resignation to accept from Michael Antosh. Michael Antosh is resigning from the Conservation Commission.
I'll make a motion to accept Michael and Tasha's resignation with regret
Yeah,
And-
He's served on that committee for many,
from
many
the
years.
Yeah.
Conservation Commission.
And with, gratitude for his service as well. Did you second that?
I'll second it.
A motion made and second. Any further discussion?
No,
I'll-
just make sure we send them a letter of thank you.
Absolutely.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, DPW report. So is Phil not, obviously, he's not
Phil's
coming.
away.
Oh, Phil's,
Yeah.
that's right, Phil is away. Okay.
So you have.
Yeah, I have
before you-
two versions here.
One should be for the signatures. That was
I
in
don't
the
have like a
signature
tag on
folder.
it.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Oh.
I did not add a tab, signature tab.
Are these exactly this? Did I get
Yes,
two
they
different?
are.
Okay, so that's fine. Okay. Okay.
So that contract is for Everett J. Prescott.
Do we have an idea of when they're going to get started?
I have not received
Because
an
I mean,
update.
time is running
Yeah.
out.
No, it is
Yeah.
running out. And I know they just went before the engineer appeared before the Conservation Commission.
Okay.
I believe that was last week.
How'd that go?
My understanding is it went well. I don't
Okay.
believe there were any
Okay.
issues. or concerns.
Anything that would hold up getting started this year or getting it done this year.
We had approved this already prior, right?
What's that?
Uh,
The contract?
Contract.
You sent the notice of award.
Okay.
This is the contract.
Do we have to
Okay.
actually vote or do we just sign it?
Yes, vote to
Okay.
approve the contract.
I'll make a motion that we vote to approve the contract with Everett J. Prescott, Inc. for the Main Street Culvert Replacement Project.
Second. Yes.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That came together fairly quickly. Marlene, thank you for all your hard work on that.
You're welcome.
Okay, update of water and sewer increased charges for future meetings.
So, the DPW with DPC engineers have been looking at the water and sewer revenues, expenditures. We had a preliminary meeting last week. We're moving forward with some additional analysis work, and we'll make a presentation to the select board in the very near future on,
Now, how's the
proposed
posting
rates.
of that has to be, right? We have to have a hearing and we have to
Of
have.
hearing. We will, issue a public notice
Yeah.
prior to that hearing. But just to, put it forward, that this is the intent is to, raise the rates.
Yeah.
The preliminary review meeting last week, we are utilizing water and sewer revenues, and we have been using retained earnings the last couple of years to fund some of our debt.
Yeah.
And the retained earnings, really, that, you really want to build that up for like emergency expenditures or projects, unexpected projects. However, what I'm saying is you can't rely on the retained earnings. So our expenditures, are almost exceeding our revenues. The other item other matter I'd like to point out is that the last 2 billing fiscal years, we have not had a full fiscal year at the new rates that were implemented because of the timing of it. So we're not capturing, the increases in a full fiscal year. So that has had an effect on the operating.
And these projects
Operations.
are done, so we're gonna have to start paying for those projects.
Well, there's still quite a few projects
Yeah.
still on our debt schedule. And we've
Yeah.
picked up some additional debt over the past few years. So we need to we're taking a good hard look at our expenditures versus revenues.
Yeah, they have to.
Yes, need to balance. Your revenue should be
Yeah, I
greater.
mean, so that picture really needs to be painted for residents
Yes, it
so that they
does.
understand,
Yes, it does.
because that's could be a significant increase.
Yes. Mhm.
Okay, request letter of support for Pioneer Valley Planning Commission and HUD Pro Housing Grant.
Yeah, this is an initiative between the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development with Pioneer Valley, partnering with the Pioneer Valley Metropolitan Statistical Area, and that serves Hampshire and Franklin counties. And the whole idea is to boost housing, take a look at how we can increase communities' housing needs. Hatfield completed a housing plan several years ago. I reached out to the planning board chair and suggested that maybe we apply for grant funding to update the housing plan. That housing plan was completed back in, I believe it was 2016. And I would like to see, and as a result of that housing plan, there was a housing committee created by the select board. We've never filled that committee to capacity. We have one appointed individual who is Stephanie Slurs. Actually, she wasn't even on the planning board at that time. But I think it would be in the best interest of the town to update the housing plan. So that would be the goal. to submit an application. Stephanie has responded to the request for interest, and I have done the same thing as well. But I would like to send a letter to Pioneer Valley that the Select Board supports this grant initiative.
Sounds like it goes hand in hand with the action plan.
Mhm.
This is basically just the letter of support.
This would be a
request.
letter of support.
Is that a motion, Kim?
Yeah, you need a motion.
I'll make a motion that we support the PVC and HUD Pro Housing Grant application.
Second.
A motion made and second. Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
This next one's just informational, correct?
The decision from ABCC?
Yep.
Yes, that is informational, but, just want to stress that ABCC, which stands for Alcoholic
Beverage Control
Beverages
Commission.
Control Commission. They do take these violations serious, and this is regarding the Hatfield Center Store at 60 Main Street.
So they're getting issued a warning.
Warning, correct. And Karen and I attended that hearing remotely, and the applicant was not present, however, their attorney was.
Okay. That's,
Next one's informational too,
Yeah.
correct?
we're supposed to sign this, right? We don't have to vote it, though, this sheet.
Yes,
Okay.
correct. Yep.
On the dam?
The dam, this is for informational purposes, because, that dam, everybody enjoys the dam, at the old Mill Inn. And I just want to update the board and the community that, that dam is owned by two different owners. The town does not have any responsibility over the dam. Back in, I think it was 2018, the Department of Conservation and Recreation issued a significant hazard letter of conditions to the owners. And they have,
thank you.
in the past 2 years, have been working with the Connecticut River Conservancy. And I was notified last week, or the town was notified last week, that the Connecticut River Conservancy has been awarded a grant for engineering studies of the Mill River Dam. So there is some progress being made to go forward and look at that analysis. As I said, it's a significant threat. And I'm sure that, they're going to look at two different options, at least, whether you were to maintain it or if
I know
it
they've
needs to
mentioned
come
removing
down.
it, yeah.
Removing it, yeah.
In my understanding, this is almost like a 5-year process they have to go through.
I would expect engineering,
Yeah.
it would take at least 2 years, probably,
And
close to
then
2
I
years.
believe there's also, they do presentations and hearings to the town.
They
and
do,
After like years, 3 or 4.
they do.
Oh,
And I'm sure they want to look at the weather cycles through a couple of years, right?
Yeah,
Because
that's a good
it-
point,
I mean,
too.
it varies there from spring to
Yeah.
fall to.
Yeah. Bill Wooldridge, who is one of the partners of the Old Mill Inn, he's been very good about, keeping the town up to date, as Becky Budd from the Connecticut River Conservancy.
Plus they have to do an environmental impact,
Mhm,
but what will occur
mhm.
if that dam comes down, they have to
Yeah,
do a
that'll be
lot of,
extensive work.
they got to do a lot of
engineering.
different studies.
Well, that's great that there's a grant to pay for that.
I thought that was, helpful information to just know what's happening there with that.
So our last item is this allocation of ARPA funds.
Yes.
What is this for? I thought we had, isn't this what we had warrant articles
So
for?
just to clear, there were 3
Yeah.
asset management plans on the town meeting warrant. And there was the grant portion. However, there is this town's cash contribution. And there was the thought that it could come from the operating budget, but that is not possible. So I spoke with the accountant. The other option would be free cash if it were certified, which is
But I thought we
not-
had all that set up. We had all, I thought we made all those decisions and all of that was taken care of before we did the articles on the 3 different plans.
I believe that as well. And, I had a conversation with the DPW director, and this was just prior to him, leaving for vacation. He had asked about the ARPA funds. I, had said, well, that is an option the select board could consider. I know there's not a lot of money left there, but utilizing the ARPA funds, would reduce it significantly, because we're talking about
And I thought all 3 grants
$27,837.
were taken care of at town meeting too. That's
Yeah,
why
I thought that,
I'm confused by
Yeah, I don't
this.
Well,
understand this.
so water and sewer, there was a drinking water asset management plan and a sewer asset management plan. In-kind services from the operating budget are covering those costs, and then a portion is coming from the grant. Stormwater doesn't fall under water or
but didn't
sewer
the DPW
enterprise.
director know this when we entered into the,
I can't be sure of that.
okay,
Sure.
could we, does this have to be decided now, or could he come to the next meeting and explain what happened?
Well, we're still we're still getting a loan. The town is still getting a loan for all 3 of them. However, this amount.
I
this
understand what it
$27,000
is. It's the town's,
cash contribution.
I understand what it
Okay.
is. I just want to understand how it happened.
Right.
So is it so urgent that a decision has to be made tonight, or could Phil come into the next meeting
It doesn't
and?
have to be made tonight, no.
Okay,
I would
well,
say,
let's
because the
hear
work
from
hasn't
Phil.
even, the work is just getting started
So
now.
let's
So-
hear from Phil.
We have other funding sources, as I mentioned.
Yeah, I
the
get it.
loan and-
I
Mhm.
just think we should hear
Okay.
from Phil. Because I did think that that was, what we voted at town meeting was all,
Mhm.
we were all set.
I think.
Me
And
too.
ARPA
think-
funding wise, I mean, those plans weren't on the capital plan.
No,
So we sort of said,
Yeah.
ARPA funds were going to be
Yeah.
anything that was on the capital plan. We weren't going to stray from the capital plan, because that would have just opened a Pandora's
Right.
box.
Yeah.
So to come in now at the last
Yeah.
second and say, oh, I need this and I want it
Yeah.
from ARPA funds.
I'd just like to add, I think it's important to note that although they're plans and they're not really considered a project because they weren't on the capital plan, when the treasurer and I were consulting with the bond counsel and the town's financial advisors, that was a question that they asked. Is this on the capital plan, and has the capital improvement committee recommended this project?
The
So-
asset management plans.
Correct. So David Keir was asked to submit a statement, and I was asked on behalf of the town to submit a statement that they were considered plans, and they did come up relatively close to town meeting, because I think it was sometime the end of March.
But that's all kind of different than this match part. It is kind of.
Well, it's all part of the
I
project.
know it's all part
cost,
of the same
though, for it.
thing, but I thought when we did those articles, that we were done.
Yes, I did too.
That was my
I believe
understanding.
the same.
So that's fine. Let's have Phil come into the next meeting and
Okay.
explain that, and maybe offer alternate sources, because I am not inclined to use ARPA funds for that.
I believe, my understanding is that it was thought that the money could be in the operating budget, but I don't agree with that. I just don't think that either one of those operating budgets could absorb that cost.
No, that's a lot of money.
Mhm.
And if an operating budget can absorb that kind of cost, then there's a problem with the operating
Mhm.
budget.
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm.
So, okay. Okay,
And that's
that's it.
all I have.
Okay. Anybody have anything else? Anything else?
Motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, John.